So I have a quick question to ask you. Have you ever thought about starting a reading habit? Or maybe you're a once in every blue moon type of reader, but you want to be more consistent and maintain a reading habit. Or maybe you're an avid reader, but you're interested in having a more intentional and fulfilling reading life. Does that sound like you? If any of those scenarios sound like you in even the slightest, I want to invite you to take the What's Your Reader Type quiz. It will only take 60 seconds of your time and you'll discover your reader type. But most importantly, you'll get the resources you need to start reading, maintain the habit, and get intentional. So visit readertypequiz.com. That's readertypequiz.com. It will only take you 60 seconds and you'll discover your reader type and get the resources you need. So whether you're an aspiring or avid reader, go to readertypequiz.com, spend 60 seconds and take the quiz that will help you get clear on where you are right now and what you need to do to live your best reading and literary life yet. Hello. I'm Victoria from Biblio Lifestyle, and you're listening to the Reader's Couch podcast, the show that will help you bridge the gap between living a full and busy life to one where you're reading, learning new things, and having fun. Today on the couch, I'm so excited to welcome author Alexandra Gater to talk about her new book, Own Your Space, Attainable room-by-room decorating tips for renters and homeowners. Now in this episode, Alexandra and I talk about her new book and how anyone, absolutely anyone, can creatively, inexpensively, and beautifully decorate their space. Most importantly, this is not just a book for homeowners. She makes a compelling case for why renters should invest in decorating their spaces too. Alexandra was a great sport and we played a game about famous homes she'd like to decorate. She also shares great decorating tips and shared one reversible home decor item for each room that can really elevate your space. We also talked about how she got started in interior design, the time it took to put this book together, and she also shares some great book and bookstore recommendations, plus lots more. So let's get into the episode because I can't wait for you to listen to my chat with author Alexandra Gater. Where were you the last weekend of April 2023? Well, I don't know about you, but hundreds of readers and myself had a fantastic 3 days at the Spring Summer Epigraph Literary Festival. It was really a great time. Oh my gosh. Authors were sharing about their new books. I was laughing so hard during the happy hours, and I learned so many new things at our lifestyle-themed sessions. So, if you missed the festival, or you want to relive the highlights, visit epigraphLitFest.com and select replays. That's epigraphLitFest.com and select replays. Your TBR will explode, you'll learn a thing or two, and you'll have lots of laughs, especially at those happy hour sessions. So go to epigraphLitFest.com and select replays. Hi readers, welcome again to the Reader's Couch. I'm your host, Victoria Wood, and here on the couch with me is a DIY YouTuber that shows renters and new homeowners how to creatively and inexpensively decorate their space. But she's here on the couch with me to talk about her new book, Own Your Space. Please welcome to the couch, Alexandra Gater. Hi, Alexandra.
Hi, Victoria. Thanks so much for having me.
Yay! I'm super excited to have you here on the show. I'm so excited about your new book, Own Your Space. I mean, how are you feeling? How excited are you? You have a book out here in the world.
Yeah, it hasn't really hit me yet, to be honest. I received the first couple copies last week, I think, or the week before. Yeah, it still doesn't feel real. It's been such a big dream of mine since I was a little kid. So to have it actually come true is kind of surreal.
Amazing. Well, for our listeners who might not be familiar with you from YouTube, just tell us really quick who you are and tell us about your channel and also what they can expect when they pick up a copy of Own Your Space.
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is all about showing people how to decorate their homes in an attainable and budget friendly and accessible way. I started in the world of publishing and I was in the home department. And in publishing, especially in the home section of magazines, there's a lot of like reno content and makeovers with budgets in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I really saw an opportunity to tap into a niche in the world of home decor. So helping, renters, first time home buyers, people that just don't have experience decorating. The world of home decor can be so intimidating, and I want to inspire people on my channel. So my team and I, we go into usually small, tiny apartments, studio apartments, and we make them over start to finish. So we'll make over a studio apartment, we'll make over dining rooms, living rooms, bedrooms, and just show people that, with a few simple changes, you can have a space that feels like yours.
Absolutely. I think what I found super interesting, even just in the subtitle of your book, is that you're recommending not just homeowners invest in decorating their space and making it their own, but also renters. So, for someone who's listening, who is a renter, who is saying, why should I invest all this money in a space that's not technically my own? What would you say to them?
I love this question because it's actually really why I started my whole channel. When I was when I was working in publishing, my friends were renting these apartments, and I was really getting into home decor and just kind of surrounding myself in that world. And I would ask them like, "Why don't you guys hang art on your walls? Like, why don't you paint? Why don't you like why are you kind of nervous to do that?" And all of them said, well, we're not going to be here forever. It's just a temporary space. We're going to be moving, one day. And now more than ever, millennials especially are renting longer than like any generation before them. So to me, home has always been a safe, comforting space. And there's no reason why that shouldn't be true for everyone, whether they rent or they own. So yeah, I really want to empower those people to feel like to feel empowered to live in a space that feels like their own, especially when they're renting, because there's so many easy ways and like reversible things you can do to a rental that just is going to make you feel more comfortable in your space.
Absolutely. So I have to admit, I'm new to your channel, which, by the way, I started watching one video and then it led into a second and a third and so on. So full disclaimer, I'm a new viewer here, but I've been loving the projects I've been seeing through your channel. So imagine me opening your book and the first sentence in your introduction hits me for a loop. And you say, I'm going to let you in on a secret. I'm not an interior designer. What the hell? I don't
Yeah.
believe it. I refuse to believe it. I'm like, no, this girl is lying to me. No way.
Well, that's really nice. Yeah, I kind of went back and forth with that opening line, to be honest, because I think it's been a real journey for me, kind of figuring out like my place in this industry. And when I worked in publishing, I worked my way up to the home editor position at this Canadian lifestyle magazine. And they're turning 95 this year, I think. So they've been around for a long time. And I had major imposter syndrome. I was like 25 and running this section of the magazine, really had no idea what I was doing. Um, but I had to learn quickly that, you know, in the world of interior design, there there's a lot of there's a lot of people who, have studied their craft for a long time, and I always felt like, well, I haven't done that, and I don't want to pretend that I have. And then I kind of realized, you know, this is exactly why I'm doing my channel. It's to empower people that maybe, don't have the opportunity to go to interior design school, or maybe they just don't, that's not their career path of choice. But my whole point and my whole reason why I do these videos and why I wrote this book is to show people that you don't have to be an interior designer to have a beautiful home. And you don't have to, live and breathe and eat and sleep design to have a beautiful home. Sometimes it's just like the simplest changes that have the biggest impact. Um, and yeah, so I'm like proudly claiming that I'm not an interior designer, in hopes that I can inspire and empower other people just like me.
Absolutely. I mean, I love hearing that, but I'm still saying in my head, no way, this girl is an interior designer.
Well, thank you.
But
I mean, I do this like 8 hours a day, Monday to Sunday. So I'm glad that you think that.
absolutely. But in the same breath, it is empowering to someone like me with, I hate to say it, I feel I don't have style, I don't have know how. But through watching your channel and now your book, which again, I'm a reader, I love having something physical in front of me that I can read, I can mark on sometimes, and just, kind of say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. It's incredibly helpful. So I love the fact that now you have this book available and it's accessible for people like me. However, I want us to kind of go back to your journey on the home primp. That was an idea that kind of came around, I guess, when you were working a day job. So tell me
Yeah.
about working there, and then what happened to you that made you kind of dive into doing it for yourself.
Yeah, sorry, I was laughing at the mention of the home print because it's so embarrassing to watch those. It's so embarrassing to go back and watch those videos because I was so young and I really had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, so I was working at that magazine that I mentioned, and at the time, YouTube was kind of, there was more people like who were working at magazines and more creators kind of surfacing on YouTube, and especially in the DIY and home decor space. And I was really inspired by watching these YouTubers. I had a dream to start a YouTube channel myself, and I just never really knew what I would talk about. I didn't know what my channel would be about. And again, coming back to this idea of working in the home decor section, being the youngest editor on the team, I really saw this opportunity to talk to this, different audience, a different audience than magazines had talked to before. And a part of that was creating a video series. At the time, video in the publishing world, at least in Canada, video was like there was a huge push for video content. And so I pitched this series where I was making over these tiny spaces. At the time, it was mostly my parents' home, and I was just making these like tiny budget friendly changes. And I think we made like 22 episodes over the span of a year. I had this whole team behind me, videographer, editors, and I had an intern helping me at one point, like pull these videos together. And it was the second last video kind of went viral. It gained like 1 million views in the span of a short amount of time. And people started like watching all of the other episodes. And then I got let go. So Canadian publishing kind of was going through, mass layoffs. And I was one of 90 people to get let go. And I felt completely lost. I had no idea what I was going to do. I loved making this video content. It was kind of like, I don't know, my I felt like it was my calling. Like I felt like I had finally figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And so then to be let go and to realize like, oh, none of that belonged to me. I don't have, this brand backing me, these videographers, these editors, what am I going to do? And then shortly after, I kind of just thought, why not give it a try myself? And so I started making videos. Again, so embarrassing to go back and look at my like early videos, but I just kept trying to build the channel and grow it. And now I have a team of like 7 full-time people, and it's just been kind of a whirlwind of 4 years.
Amazing. I love how sometimes things turn around. So from a layoff to now this wonderful channel and beautiful book, which I'm really excited to discuss. So
Mhm.
you've divided the book in 3 parts. So there's a planning phase, there's a decorating phase, and then my favorite part 3, is you divided everything by room. And I found that
Mhm.
incredibly helpful. But first, let's start with planning. So you kind of break things down to telling folks to find their own style. And there's this fun quiz that you have in the book. I thought that was genius. Because I was like, okay, this is helpful. I know I like this, I don't like that. So I'm more gravitating towards one style than another. So my question is, tell me about the creating of this quiz and what have you found as you've spoken to, different homeowners and friends and just different people whose spaces you've redesigned?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with the creation of kind of the whole book. Was the idea behind it was taking everything that I talk about on my YouTube channel. I think we've done over like 200 videos. There's so many tips layered into each makeover. And so I wanted to compile it into one place. And a book obviously makes the most sense to do that. And I broke it up into three sections because I wanted to kind of mimic my own design process when we're creating these makeovers, and really take people through the process in like a very linear kind of way. And so the quiz is obviously a huge part of that. Um, I think people get really hung up on what their style is. Everyone wants to know, what is my style? Because that really is the starting point to figuring out what you like, what colors you like, what furniture pieces you like. And I really wanted to make the quiz kind of open ended. I didn't want people to land on like one design style that they love, because oftentimes people have such an eclectic mix of styles that influence their design choices. And so, really, the kind of ranking system of this quiz is to show people that maybe they love farmhouse design or like aspects of farmhouse design, and that wouldn't be a design style that they even considered. Or maybe they are just like very in tune with their design style and maybe they love minimal design. So, yeah, the idea of the quiz was to really leave it open ended. And then I go into kind of what aspects of each style, um, what makes up each kind of design style. So, materials, colors, just to give people a really great starting point to work with.
Absolutely. And I loved it. And again, a whole section dedicated to finding your dream rental property. Again, it's just kind
Yeah.
of mind blowing to me because encouraging folks not to wait until you own a home, but make your rental your own space. So I love the finding your dream rental home. I also loved planning a shared space. Again, so if you're sharing it with family or friends or just roommates, just being able to plan a space that can have, multiple functions for multiple people.
Yeah, exactly. I really love that section too, the section about finding your dream rental home, because a lot of people, when I started my channel, I lived in this tiny apartment, and a lot of people would ask me like, how did you find this place? How did you come across this? And I think looking for a rental can feel like a full-time job. And because I've gone into so many people's spaces, and because I've seen so many, photos of people's spaces when they submit their rentals, I have a really good idea of what's going to work and what's maybe not going to work. And, simple things like the lighting of your space, like how much light does your space get? How many windows do you have? To the floors, like those things really influence. It might sound silly, but those things to me really influence like how we feel in our space, right? If our space is dark and gloomy, we're not going to feel good when we come home every single day. So, yeah, I really love that section too. So I'm glad you like it.
Amazing. Yes, I really did. Part two is all about decorating. So we're decorating with paint. We're getting into art, keeping it bright with lighting. But the section that kind of blew my mind is the rules of rugs, curtains, and cushions. Because there was this one picture in the book
Mhm.
where the floors were dark and you showed basically how you can just brighten the space by choosing a lighter color rug. Now, I would have never thought about doing something like that to darker floors, but going through that whole section, I'm realizing that just by choosing maybe the right colors, the different furnishings, it can make a space that is a bit industrial, maybe more cozy, or something that was more dark, a bit more light. And then not to mention the whole hacking IKEA furniture. I mean, that was genius.
Thanks. Yeah. So I love hacking IKEA furniture. It's such an easy way to make a piece feel custom, especially when you're working on a budget. Yeah, I'm like such a advocate for one of my favorite actually IKEA hacks is taking a Kallax sofa or any kind of IKEA sofa and then buying a custom cover for it. I don't think people know that you can do that, but there's lots of companies that sell custom covers for an IKEA sofa, so you can have like that dream pink velvet sofa if you want, which is so fun.
That sounds really fun. Again, just absolutely amazing. I love it. Okay, so Alexandra, we're going to shake things up on the show a bit with a little game. So, this game is going to be entitled What Famous Home Alexandra Would Like to Design? So, I'm going to list some famous historic houses from across the world. Although, to be fair, when I was going through the list, I realized most of these were US based. However, tell me what home you would love to redesign. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so the performer Prince, would you like to redesign his estate or would you opt for Johnny Cash's childhood home?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Those are like two wildly different spaces. Probably Johnny Cash.
Okay. Would you opt for Elvis Presley's Graceland home or would you choose the Parkers' home in A Christmas Story? So the movie The Christmas Story, the Parkers, their home, or would you want to do Elvis Presley's home?
Definitely Elvis Presley. Like that would just be so fun.
I think that would be fun too. I like it. All right, so I learned something new while researching this game. So apparently, the largest privately owned home in the United States is the Vanderbilt's Biltmore Estate in North Carolina. Now, would you want to design that one? Or would you want to design an entire row of houses in San Francisco? So apparently they're called the Painted Ladies. They're Victorian homes. There's a row of them. They're beautiful. Would you like to design those homes or would you go for the Biltmore estate of the Vanderbilts?
Definitely the Painted Ladies. I think those houses are like a rainbow of color. I think there's a pink one and a green one
Mhm.
and a blue one. So even just the outside is like so in line with my style.
I love it. Yay. Okay, now we're going to palaces. Would you like to do Buckingham Palace or Palace of
I knew,
Versailles?
I knew that was coming. Definitely Buckingham Palace. Fun fact, my family is actually British. My parents live in England. And I
Ah,
visited Buckingham Palace many times, not obviously in it, but
mhm.
yeah, Buckingham Palace would be amazing. Though I need to brush up on my like large space decorating skills, I think. I'm used to doing tiny, studio apartments.
Yeah, sounds good. And the last one is literary themed. Would you want to do the Charles Dickens home or Mark Twain?
Probably Charles Dickens for sure.
Yay, back
But
to
yeah,
London.
yeah, back to London. Yeah. I'm kind of sad that you didn't say Sylvia Plath's house. I went to see her house when I lived in London. I went to visit because there's a plaque, the historic homes in London. And I was reading her book at the time, The Bell Jar, and then I was reading I think was it a biography written? It was called Wintering.
Mhm.
It's a fantastic book about her life. Anyways, I walked to her house and then I walked to her ex-husband's house around the corner, and that was very cool to be reading the book at the same time.
That would have been amazing. I never thought of doing that. I love Sylvia Plath so, 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 so much.
Yeah, so do
So
I.
yeah, that would have been cool. So on that note, though, really quick, so add on to the game. What three famous homes would you love to design?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to think about this. So Taylor Swift, number
Mhm.
one. Not only because I am quite obsessed with her, but her home style is really cool. I know she has like 16 homes, but I remember when she started her career, she had this little apartment in Nashville. And I remember she posted a photo of her kitchen and all the knobs were mismatched. And she was really into thrifting at the time. And I just think that's so fun. Um, so probably Taylor Swift, and then, oh my gosh, I don't know, other two famous people. I think, probably Zoe Sugg, who's a British YouTuber. She definitely doesn't need a home makeover because her home is beautiful, but working with her would be so cool because I love her style. Those would probably be my top two.
Top two. Sounds good. Well, Alexandra, thank you so much for playing our game.
No problem.
All right, so let's get back to the book. The last section is real rooms, and I love how you
Yeah.
divided each room. So we have the kitchen, the bedroom, living room, bathroom, entryway. You have a section just dedicated to folks living with pets, studio apartments, and also before you move out. So I want to start at the end, the whole before you move out part, because for folks, especially again, you're living in a rental, you've invested time, money, just everything in creating this beautiful space. You enjoyed it, you were loving on it. Now it's time to leave. What are your three tips for people who are now transitioning from this one space and now going into something else? So tell us about the before you move out.
Yeah. I think my number one tip would be asking if you know who the tenants are who are moving in, as you're moving out, ask them what changes they want to keep. So, for example, in my last apartment, I put down this peel and stick flooring in the bathroom, and I just asked them, do you want to keep this? Do you want to keep the flooring? Here's the flooring that's underneath." And they were like, "No, no, we definitely want to keep the tiles." I asked them if they wanted to keep the closet that I turned into a little office. I said, "Do you want to keep that?" And we basically went through like the changes I had made, and they actually wanted to keep a lot of them, which is, I think, again, something people don't think about. Um, Especially if you've made upgrades, like the chances are the tenants moving in will want to keep those upgrades. So that would be my first tip. And then um, my second tip is, I think moving can just feel so overwhelming, especially with like moving boxes. I remember when I moved, I was just ordering like, all these cardboard boxes, and then I would just I recycled them all, and it just felt like such a waste. So there's actually a lot of services where you can rent reusable moving boxes, which makes the process a lot more like eco-friendly, but also just easier. And then you just send the boxes back when you're done with them, which is really great. And then um my third tip is, if there's anything that you want to take with you, so like let's say lights that you've changed, or maybe knobs that you don't want to leave for the tenant who's moving in after you, just taking a day and hiring someone to help you switch back lights, uninstall knobs, and just uninstall the things that you want to take with you is so valuable. And again, I think people think, it has to be such a large undertaking to make these changes, but in reality, you just need a day to reverse all the changes you've made.
Right, right. Amazing. Love those tips. All right. So this is like semi game, semi going through the book. The main rooms are your kitchen, your bedroom, your living room, your bathroom. So what are your, I guess, maybe 1 to 3 items, you can vary the amount, that are must haves to kind of elevating each space? So let's start with the kitchen.
So in the kitchen, peel and stick backsplash is like my number one tip for elevating a rental kitchen. You can put peel and stick backsplash on almost any existing tile, as long as it's not like really bumpy or like irregular shaped. So if it's flush to the wall, you can cover it up with peel and stick tile. There's so many different companies that sell these tiles. You can buy them in like a sheet, kind of like wallpaper that's waterproof, or you can buy them um, in kind of panels, and they come with what looks like, pre-existing grout. They're really easy to install, and I love them so much because you can have a pink kitchen if you want with peel and stick pink tiles, which is what I did in my old apartment.
Love. What would you do in the bedroom? One big reversible change.
Definitely paint in a bedroom, and also textiles. So if you have a window that has, blinds, oftentimes in rentals, they can be like those plastic kind of blinds or shutters. Changing them out for really flowy linen curtains makes such a difference. Whenever we go into a space and make it over, without fail, I always say, "Oh my gosh, this looks so much better." It just adds warmth to a space, texture, but also it just looks luxe and elevated. And again, it's like those really simple, tiny changes that I think people often don't think about that have such a big impact on a space and how you feel in that space. And I think in a bedroom, you want to feel warm and cozy.
Absolutely. And your bathroom, what would you do?
For bathrooms, I similar to backsplash, peel and stick backsplash, you can also get peel and stick floor tiles. I did this in
Nice.
my old bathroom, and I was kind of skeptical. I was like, how are these going to hold up to moisture and water? But they are meant for humid bathrooms. They're meant to like get water on them. And I had what looks like a gym bathroom floor, like orange tile on the floor. And so covering it up with some peel and stick tile just made such a huge difference. And I was sad to leave that bathroom, I have to say. It was tiny, but it was really cute.
Oh, love it. And last space, your living room. What is the last thing you would do?
I would say lighting. And this kind of goes for every room, but I think in a living room especially, a big statement light, a pendant light or a flush mount. Lighting, again, has such an impact on our mood and how we feel. Even just switching out a light bulb sometimes can make a huge difference. So if you have a really blue hued or blue toned light bulb can make us feel quite cold. So switching it out for something that's a little warmer, but there is nothing like a good statement light in the living room. It really is just such an impactful way to create a stylish statement in a space.
Right, right, absolutely. Well, you guys, as you can see, Alexandra is just full of tips, and her book is indeed an amazing resource. I hope you guys get your hands on a copy. But really quick though, before we go, I want to get into your writing life. How long did it take for you to pull this book together?
I think start to finish, it took about 2.5 years. So from the kind of proposal phase, kind of thinking about what the book would be about, to actually shooting all of the imagery, to writing it, it was quite a big undertaking. I think I naively thought it would be a lot easier, but it is so rewarding to be able to say I kind of did it myself, start to finish. But yeah, about 2 years, 2.5 years.
And have you read any good books lately? What are you reading that you'd now recommend?
I just finished a book called Really Good, actually, by Monica Hesse. And I finished it about 2 weeks ago, and I would totally recommend it. It is so good. It's heartbreaking and hilarious. She breaks up with her long term partner, and she was married, actually. And it's such a fantastic book about breakups and heartbreak, but it's also like funny and just like heartwarming at the same time.
Yay, I absolutely love that one as well.
Have you read it? It's so good.
Yes, I did. I did. It was so, so, so good. I mean, the cover itself just caught my attention
I
with
know. It
that
made me
kind of
cry at the end with the
it
scene with the
did.
bus, and I know,
Hmm.
I know.
Hmm. Yeah, but that was a good one for sure. Any childhood favorites that you can remember? Any books that you really loved growing up?
I was such an avid reader. And I actually read a lot of books from from British authors because I
Hmm.
would visit there all the time. I would say a series of books that really has stuck with me are like obviously the Judy Blume books.
Yeah.
I felt like that was kind of um my first experience with like a book kind of, I don't know, teaching me about myself and growing up and being able to like escape into that world and get answers to questions I had, was just it's just always stuck with me how books can have that impact on you, especially for me when I was growing up. I really turned to books um, to escape, but also to like learn all the things I didn't want to ask anyone else about.
Absolutely, same here. And any favorite bookstores nearby you that you'd love and you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, we have so many great independent bookstores in Toronto. I actually just visited Flying Books yesterday on College Street in Toronto, and they have such an amazing selection and curation of Canadian authors, but all kinds of authors, but especially Canadian authors.
Mhm.
Such a great bookstore.
Amazing. So, Alexandra, now that you've written the book and it will be available for readers and homeowners and renters and decorators and just anyone interested in redesigning their space, I mean, I think it's an amazing resource. You've also shared so much with us today. But what are you hoping readers, after they've picked up a copy of your book, and, what feelings are you hoping they will have?
Yeah, I hope that this book acts as a resource to people, not just once, but multiple times throughout their life. So whether they're renting their first apartment, maybe even decorating a dorm room, all the way to maybe they're doing like their first major renovation, but they don't have thousands of dollars to spend on a brand new kitchen. They want to make simple upgrades. I really hope that people use this as a resource, but then also are just able to enjoy all the beautiful imagery in it and feel inspired to, sling it under their arm and go to the hardware store to pick their next paint color for a makeover they're working on. My hope is just that people feel empowered to make over their space and don't feel intimidated by the process.
Absolutely. And you made it easy for us to not be intimidated. Alexandra, thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking with me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you so much for listening to the Reader's Couch podcast. Please subscribe to the show, share it with a friend, and take a few seconds to leave a rating and review. Until next time, stay lounging, stay reading, and whenever you're in doubt, go straight to your local bookstore or library. Thanks again for listening, and happy reading.